everyone and welcome back to Don't Be Bored and my top 100 games of all time. Yes, it's another block of 10 that we're going through. These are so much better than the previous ones, but they're not quite as good as the games I'll talk about in the future. But either way, let's crack into these 10 fantastic games. Like, these are my top 100. None of these are bad by any stretch of the imagination. Almost staying in the same place as last year, falling one place, is Mind Management. This is a fantastic hidden movement game, and there's not enough good ones of these out there. I know a lot of people like Fury of Dracula. I just didn't click with that one, but I really did with Mind Management. It really does this amazing sort of job at the person hiding their movement, moving around, giving just the right amount of information away, and you can really throw people off, and you slowly do give this information away. You have to be like, you'd be asked, like, have you been here, or have you been, like, what have you been near? And you have to be like, yes, I have been near one of those like coffee shops or something like that. But it's not just like a normal coffee shop, but because no, there's a weird art style that goes with this game. It kind of has this odd, almost espionage feel. I think it's come from a graphic novel that I'm not aware of personally, and I still kind of like it. It's definitely unique, and it makes the board look cool, and the whole experience just, it has a few like quirky bits, and it's just kind of explained away as part of that experience. Next up is a dexterity game that you can get to the table with anyone. I know most dexterity games you can as well, but Junkart is a fantastic one that you can bring out at like a dinner party, that sort of vibe. Once you've all had food and you maybe want to play something a little bit fun and silly, but you're still sat at the table, well, this is the sort of one you can bring out, and you are balancing these weird and wonderful shapes across a variety of game modes. Perhaps on one time you're playing, you're building on your own little structure, and every time someone plays a card next to you, you have to find that shape and add it to your structure. Maybe another one, it's not necessarily what they're doing, but what you're playing, and you're trying to build the highest structure before the time limit runs out, and if it does run out, you're stopped. So if your tower's fallen over as part way through, you just keep going. Maybe in another round, as soon as it falls over, you're eliminated. Or maybe you're all building on one sort of central thing, and whoever makes it fall over first is out, and everyone else gets points. Not only that, you can make up your own rules of these different cities, which are these different like game modes, each with their own rules. It's fantastic because you're balancing these crazy shapes, and you're like, that's never gonna balance. Wow, you've managed it. Oh no, now I have to add something next to that or on top of that. How am I going to do that? And maybe you go, actually, there's a bit hanging off over there. Maybe I can just hoop something on. And it's that brilliant dexterity sort of thing where you're actually building up, not necessarily like Jenga where it's falling down. Although there's still a lot of stuff falling down in Junkart. Really cool though, brilliant dexterity game, Junkart. Next up is a brand new game to the list-ish, and that's because it's Dixit Odyssey. It's a slightly different version than I had on previously. I think I just put the original Dixit. But I do think the Odyssey version is better, and why? Well, first of all, it has a slightly wider player count. The original Dixit box is 3 to 6, Dixit Odyssey is 3 to 8, so straight away, that's better. But also it has like a board included, so when you're shuffling the cards up to sort of be like, right, which illustration was the word really about, because it's these abstract artwork cards, and you're sort of playing, one player gives a word and you're like, okay, let's say waterfall. Everyone plays a card into the middle, they get shuffled up and put along this board which has the numbers in it. So when people go like, I think it was number 2, it's super obvious which one they thought. And that central board just makes it a little bit easier than what was included in just the original Dixit. So they're effectively like two different base games. Think of it like a Ticket to Ride and a Ticket to Ride Europe, where they're both base games that you can then buy expansions with loads of fun, amazing artwork for. For me, the Odyssey one is the better edition, and that's why it's on the list. and I think last time I just put Dixit as a whole on, but if you're going for a specific version, the Odyssey one I think is the one to get. So you want a game where there's networks, there's different types of resources that you need to build these different things. There's a different age as well, so once you've built a certain amount of the stuff on the game, everything levels up and all of the canal routes are replaced with train tracks, and now you're building hopefully better buildings and stuff. There's beer to transport, and there's a load of iron and coal as well, I think it was, in Brass Birmingham. Now this is not a game which you should take lightly. This is a thinky sort of experience with many tiles going on and a really cool daytime and nighttime side of the board, which adds absolutely nothing gameplay wise, but it allows you to pick which aesthetic you want. That's a nice cool feature that was completely unnecessary. This has got a number of cool features, other than just that fact that there's like 2 ages. So you play through the first age and then everything sort of levels up. The old stuff that doesn't really matter, they are removed from the board. But if you've got ahead enough, maybe one of your buildings remains and will score you in both ages. And then you've got stuff being built in the second age and different routes connecting. There's a really cool card play that drives that, and also a really cool way to determine first player order. Basically, whoever's spent the most is going to be going last in the next round. So as you're going, you're maybe wanting to hold on, maybe having to take a loan to actually be able to afford things, but that's pushed you down on the point track. It's a really cool game, Brass Birmingham. It's like so high on Board Game Geek for a reason. But just know it's not like a casual train game going into it, even though that's, you know, it's got this beautiful aesthetic. There's quite a lot of thinkiness going in. It's a heavy game, but it's fantastic, and that's why it's on the list. Another 2-player game making the list is Watergate. This is a one-on-one between like the press and the Nixon administration, and you are, in one way or another, trying to get these like bits of evidence onto a board to link the president across to some of these witnesses. And you're either trying to make that happen or stop that happening by pushing the different bits of evidence up and down this sort of tug of war. And there's different bits of evidence each round being pushed and tugged. You're also trying to maybe take the influence for the next round, so you can play an extra card than your opponent, and you're playing these cards which are ridiculous. Some of them are so strong, it's just like, right, if I play this, the round ends. So if you've managed to, so far, just nudge all of the sort of evidence your way and you play that card, the round ends early, your opponent doesn't have that chance to fight back. But your opponent will also have overpowered cards. So all of these overpowered cards sort of build up into making a really cool experience where actually everything's overpowered, so nothing is, if that makes sense. You've got these things where like Nixon might just almost like pay off a witness, or maybe, I don't know, hide them away or something. So all of a sudden this witness, they won't be giving evidence against me. That entire person in this map of routes back to Nixon, they're blacked out. They can no longer be used. So maybe you have to then, I've got some evidence across to them, but that's now pointless. Maybe I can veer it off to a different one, but it will take me a bit more time. It's really, really cool how these cards with strong abilities sort of come up against each other. And it's a pretty cool theming as well. That's Watergate. Next up we have Tang Garden and the brand new edition of it. The big box has just arrived, so I'll definitely be playing this one again a little bit more. But this one is a fantastically beautiful experience. It's tile laying. I love me some tile laying, but it creates this amazing garden full with little tokens of plants, these 3D trees, and then you're putting these little miniatures in of the characters. And which way you're putting them in actually matters. Like this geisha, they want to be looking and however many trees they can see in their direction, that's maybe points at the end of the game. But now you've put them in, you're no longer getting the power that they gave you. You're getting this other one. And someone else might put this person in. It's the vista pieces that you put beyond the garden that they're looking at. How many symbols of water are on those that get you points. And loads of these little things that add up. And it's this cool choice of, I've got this mini is mine at the moment. It's giving me this ongoing power that could be super useful. But if I put them in the garden, they'll be scoring me points at the end of the game and I'll get a new power. And maybe that's better for me right now. Maybe it's not, so I want to wait, but I need to be building these things up. You're doing this cool tile laying, creating these amazing, like, Tang Garden, these Asian gardens, which was, you know, it really brings back when I went to China and went through some of these gardens. It really does bring some of that home. I really like it. It just creates just an utterly stunning sort of board in front of you. Tang Garden. Just go and play it just simply for the looks and then stay for the experience. Next up is another brand new game. There's still maybe one more coming on this chunk of the list, and this is Splendor Duel. Yes, the 2-player version of it. Now, I was surprised. I was like, well, Splendor plays relatively well at 2, but the twist they put on it I really do like. Now, it does mean it's only for 2, and I love 2-player games, but I also like it when a game will play with 2, and if someone else turns up I can still get it to the table. But I really like the choice of this one, where you've got this central board and you're taking these gem tiles from it to do the normal Splendor stuff of buying stuff from the market, etc., which is getting you points and all that sort of stuff. But you're also doing this sort of trade-off of these scrolls. I think they're called scrolls. Effectively, if you take the right thing, your opponent gets a scroll from the market. If you basically, if you get a really good turn, your opponent gets a scroll. If you reset the market of gemstones, your opponent gets a scroll. And then you can trade these in at the start of your turn to do something extra. And I love it when you get to do what is like a bigger than normal turn. And it's, well, that normal Splendor goodness, just with that extra like market board that really works at 2. If you like Splendor, you'll like this. And if you like this, you'll like Splendor. But having that board makes it work, I do think, a bit better for 2. It just then doesn't have the extra player count. But Splendor Duel, go and try this one out. Now, this one has fallen from last year, and simply because it's a lighter weight game, but Catan 3D is in my collection. It's up there on the shelf. I even have the expansion box. It's ludicrous. It's Catan. You can hate on it. You can, hopefully though, still see why it's good. It's one of those games where you can kind of turn your brain off, roll some dice, and when it's the 3D one, it looks incredible in front of you with these mountains, the actual pasture with little sheep, and all those sort of things. It's one of those welcoming experiences that is very much gateway. You can teach this to brand new players, and if you teach the 3D one to brand new players, they're like, wow, board games can be like this? Because it does kind of blow your mind when you see the 3D one set up. It's definitely more money than it's worth. But, you know, because it's a ludicrous price, it's like 150 quid when you can just go and buy Catan for like 20 somewhere else. But it is a really nice addition. I'm so glad I've got it. And like I say, it's one of those easy going games. You can turn your brain off, roll some dice, and yeah, you know, it's going to be super lucky. You could be screwed over by the dice. Every time I roll, someone else gets resources. When they roll, someone else gets resources. And I'm just sat there not getting anything. But then you have that great sort of chat round the table with the trading and you're screwing me over for that road. I wanted to build over there. I'm not going to trade with you now, and all that sort of fun. It's Catan. It's simple. It's easy. And if it's the 3D one, damn, it looks good as well. Number 62 on the list is another brand new game, and one that will be arriving in the collection. I kind of hope soon. I think it's at the start of next year, potentially, when it's going to actually be delivered, is the Call of Duty board game. Now, this one is not going to be for everyone, but for me, it hits a lot of nostalgia because there's a number of maps in there that I remember playing when I was younger, playing Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 and a few of the more recent ones, where you've got these maps and you are actually pre-programming your actions. So you have these like 4 actions and it's like, right, I'm going to run to that point and face this direction. Then I'm going to move over here. And once you've pre-programmed your 4 things, you unveil and you do those out. So you versus an opponent, you can even do this at like 2v2 and or like 1v1 or however you want to do it. And you are moving, so it's like, right, I move and I'm looking that way, you move looking that way. Okay, we actually can see each other based on the line of sights that's really intuitively drawn in colours on the map across like the lines linking things. It's like, right, you're looking at me, so you get the advantage. I'm not, but I still get to like fire. I just don't have the advantage of looking at you and aiming down sights, which gets you an extra advantage. I sprinted rather than just moved. I have a disadvantage. My weapon is bigger, so I roll more dice in a minute, but I can play this card that's going to help me. And you add these numbers up, you shoot each other, and it's a lot of fun. Pre-programming goodness. I've thrown a grenade over there. Oh, but you ran that way. Oh well, all that sort of fun. And I'm really looking forward to this one arriving and me getting to actually play it again. And that's the Call of Duty board game. It's not going to be for everyone. Call of Duty, for a lot of people, would be a massive turn off straight away. For me, nostalgic hit and quite fun gameplay too. Again, not super serious. Roll some dice, play some cards, have some fun. And the last one on this chunk of the list is Sheriff of Nottingham. Now, I've got the first edition, not the new one. I actually prefer the artwork of the edition I have. And it really does sound like the new edition is basically the same. So while the one I have is, I think, nicer, it's probably a lot harder to get. And it's probably much cheaper to, unless you can get it second-hand, buy the new, more readily available version. But it's all got this same cool gameplay of bluffing. One person each round is the sheriff, and they're going to be sat there all on their mighty high horse. The Sheriff of Nottingham, ready to see what people are trying to smuggle into Nottingham. And in this case, you put a number of cards into a little pouch and you pass it to the sheriff and say, I'm going to be taking these to the market to sell. Now, the sheriff has to look at you dead in the eyes and go, I'm going to let you through. I think you've only got good stuff available in there. Or maybe they go, I don't trust you. I don't think they're just good apples. You're telling me there's 3 apples in here? I think one of those is the golden apples, basically super stuff. Or maybe you've put contraband in there. Maybe there are some apples, but you've smuggled some crossbows in there as well. I'm going to open it and find out. And it's this bluffing of, oh yeah, no, sure, I'm just taking apples, or I've just got bread, honest. It's not this fancy bread that I'm not allowed to sell here. And you're trying to smuggle this stuff in because the smuggled stuff gets you more points. You're trying to smuggle, have the most apples, because if you get the most apples through, well, you win a load of bonus points. But the sheriff is trying to make sure you don't get stuff through. If the sheriff does open your package and you're telling the truth, they apologise. Oh, yes, sorry, here's your stuff, and here's like a little fine for me being incorrect. Here's a sorry for being incorrect. But if I open it up and there is contraband, you then don't get that stuff, sort of thing. And, well, there's money changing hands of, I'll give you a coin, sheriff, if you open their bag, or I'll give you 2 coins because if they're lying, that will they're not lying. I'm helping you out here to lessen the impact to you, sheriff, and you're trying to screw each other over and just try and get contraband through. You can play the game by not lying at all and do quite successfully, but definitely if you do a little lie now and again and get some contraband through, you'll win. And that is Sheriff of Nottingham, a really fun bluffing-based game. And that wraps up this chunk of 10. Please let me know what of these was your favourite game. What should actually be really high on my list, but actually is all the way down here in the doldrums of bad games. None of these are really bad games. I really enjoy all of them. If someone wanted to play any of these, I'd be really happy to. But let me know which one you'd want to play most. And, well, stick around on the channel. In 3 days' time, the next chunk of 10 will be releasing. And until then, check out other news, reviews, and all that sort of good jazz. And have a fantastic day gaming.